How's it going, guys? It's Parallax Abstraction, and this is the Geek Bravado Ramble. Oh man, it is another early Saturday morning when I'm recording, so cheers. Indeed. I purposely did this before I fueled up this morning because, well, I'm a little crankier before I've had my coffee, and I think this is a good opportunity for that. So, let us talk about Steam refunds, shall we? So, unless you've been living in a cave in the middle of nowhere with no internet the last week, in which case I don't know why you're watching this to begin with, you're aware of Steam's new refund policy that came out. This came out of the blue like many other things with Steam has and kind of blew everybody's mind. Basically, Steam is allowing you to take any game that you've purchased and get a full refund, no questions asked for any reason whatsoever on it, within 48 hours of purchase or 2 hours of playtime, whichever comes first. Game doesn't work, get your money back. Don't like the game, get your money back. Any other number of factors, doesn't matter, get your money back. This blew everyone away, including me. Steam's customer service is notoriously, legendarily terrible. I've dealt with it several times, and it is among the worst I've ever seen, and that's saying something. And people wonder if this is a response both to complaints about that and the recent paid modding fiasco, or if, I think, personally, this is more in response to the fact that Valve is being sued in the European Union for failing to adhere to consumer protection laws. Any way you slice it, I don't really care about the motivations. This is amazing for consumers. As someone who is pretty educated when it comes to my games purchases, but has made my fair share of purchases that turned out to be garbage over the years, that is an amazing thing to be able to pick something up and try it out, realize it's no good, and not be stuck with it and not feel burned with it. That is something that is long overdue, and I think Valve's or Steam's near de facto monopoly position in the space will make that something that may propagate down to other services. I would love to see the console makers do this. I think that's a ways away, but if anyone's going to be able to set a precedent in this manner, it's Steam. So that's very cool. But of course, no good deed goes unpunished, and as usual, I'm really wondering if we can go a friggin' week without the perpetually outraged and their friggin' lackeys in the games press trying to harp on how everything is bad and evil and wrong and some kind of ist. But so I read a bunch of articles the other day shortly after this came out with basically complaints from a very certain minority number of indie developers. Indie developers who make products that more often than not are less than 2 hours long, saying that this is basically the end for them and that people are just going to buy their games, finish them, return them, and Steam doesn't care about indies, and these people are awful, and they're probably massive racists to boot because why not? Oh, God. And as usual, a bunch of the games press have come out defending them, including, hacks like Nathan Grayson at Kotaku, who came out slamming the program, saying how bad it is, failing to disclose that the people he quotes in the story are all friends of his. The usual you would expect from them. But I cannot believe this. Like, I have talked for a long time, well before any recent controversies of the last year happened, about how the games press doesn't seem to understand who they're serving anymore, and how they seem to think that the way to success is by constantly attacking and shitting on your audience, and not advocating for what is in your audience's best interest. That's what a consumer press is supposed to do. You are supposed to advocate for consumer issues and things that benefit your customers. But that doesn't seem to be what the press is about anymore. They seem to be about, trumpeting up and defending, indie developers who make products that have severe limitations, and that maybe those rather than look at maybe those limitations as part of the problem, of course it's everybody else's fault. It's not their fault that their games don't succeed, it's everybody else's fault. And the press keeps propping up this incredible egocentrism, and it's driving me nuts. And I'm sorry, I am not gonna take any of that. There is nothing bad about what Valve has done with Steam refunds. Steam refunds are only a good thing, and the reason for that is that it is a move that is incredibly pro-consumer. The video game industry as a whole has not unlike the press in many ways. The industry itself, the people who make video games, have been actively fighting their audience, it seems, for the last number of years on a great many things. Aggressive DLC practices, day one DLC, very intrusive DRM schemes that don't work. The whole thing that happened with the Xbox One, where it was going to require an always online connection, and they were going to force out used games and all these other things. All of these moves do not benefit the consumer. They are interested in benefiting the content creators and the content publishers first. And the thing is, the way business like this is supposed to work is that you service your customers first, you do well by your customers, and the money flows. The way all of these other people are acting is that they are entitled to the money, and that it's the consumer's job to provide it, and those that aren't are the enemy. That's not how a customer service business is supposed to work. And Valve has been guilty of this quite a bit, and it seems like they're maybe turning around on that, which is really cool. But I'm sorry, indie developers who are out there screaming that their sub-2-hour experiences, many of which barely qualify as games at all in my opinion, are going to severely suffer because of this, well, there's many, aside from the supreme arrogance of that and thinking that the entire games industry and the digital distribution platforms need to bend to their will, these people who make up probably sub 100th of 1% of the sales on Steam think that the service needs to bend to their will. That's just the level of incredible narcissism that we've seen from these people over the last several months. But it also works on some very flawed logic, and that logic is as follows. So these people assume that, one, everyone who buys their game and finishes it in under 2 hours is going to return it. If you make a good game, people will probably keep it, regardless of how long it is. And it also assumes that the people who would do such a thing are lost customers as a result of that. I think in most cases, people who would buy a sub-2-hour game, finish it, and then request a refund are people who either, one, wouldn't buy that game to begin with, because it's very easy to tell how long a game is before you put money down. Steam reviews alone will tell you that. And secondly, that these people, if they still wanted to play it anyway, wouldn't just pirate it. And that's the thing, right? It's assuming that it's the same fallacy that so many of these people throw at AAA companies when they say, well, when AAA companies complain about piracy, the first argument everybody throws out there is, well, all the people who are pirating it wouldn't have bought the game anyway, which is there's a lot of fallacy in that, but it's true to a certain degree. But these same people are the ones saying now that Steam's refund policy basically means all these people who make these sub-2-hour games are not going to meet any kind of success because everybody's just going to buy it, beat it, and return it. Well, no, you can't really have both in that situation. If you're going to buy a game on Steam and return it because it's less than 2 hours, again, you probably wouldn't have bought it anyway, or you just would have pirated it, either way. So I don't necessarily see that happening, but the biggest argument is that if your game is good, people who are into those kinds of things are not going to really care. You know what? I think Gone Home was a pretentious pile of cliche, but most people love that game, and that game is well under 2 hours. If it can be 3 or 4 if you're incredibly thorough, but I mean, you can if you know where to go in a certain thing in that game, you can beat that game in like a minute. So, but the fact is, I think the majority of people who bought Gone Home probably wouldn't have returned it anyway. They probably would have hung on to it because they thought it was something good. I mean, there's a lot of people who played that game through multiple times. I mean, as a matter of fact, when I first beat Gone Home, I thought it was kind of interesting, and it wasn't until I really sat and thought about it for a while that I realized what an overrated piece of crap that game is. But I would have ended up keeping it even if this refund policy was in place when it came out, because it wasn't until it had been out for several days that I thought about it and realized I didn't care for it. So I don't see this hurting a lot of those things. And I'm sorry, but if you're selling a sub-2-hour experience for money, and you're not properly communicating that to potential buyers, I dare say that problem is probably on your end. Like, one of the people that Nathan Grayson was quoting in this Kotaku article is someone who has products on Steam that are 30 seconds long. And, you know, it's not like it takes no effort to make a 30-second game. I mean, I'm sure that that took many, many hours and lots of effort, and that's fine. I'm not denying that. But... and I don't even think, the funny thing was, the person who was complaining about that, I want to say that that game's not even, I don't think she even charges for it. I think it's free. So I don't even know what the problem is there. But I'm sorry, if you're charging money for a sub 2-hour experience, whether it's 30 seconds or 1 hour and 59 minutes, I don't think you're going to have a problem as long as you appropriately price it to your audience. If you make a sub 2-hour game that's $30, yeah, people are probably going to feel ripped off by that. If you make a sub 2-hour game that's $5, maybe people won't care that much. And because it's cheaper, you'll probably sell a lot more of them in the end. I mean, it's the economy of Steam sales, right? Where Steam has said that games that are on sale often sell so many more units that they make up for the reduction in price and actually are more profitable as a result of Steam sales. That's why Steam sales are so prevalent. So in the end of the day, this really sounds more like a problem of the content creators not understanding their audience and not knowing what their audience wants. And rather than trying to figure that out and go, oh, maybe I should price this appropriately, or maybe I should put some more content in here, as usual, it's never their fault. It's the problem with all these particular pretentious indie creators is that nothing is ever their fault. It's always someone else's fault. It's Valve screwing me over. It's the audience screwing me over. It's this or whatever. It's never the fault that maybe I didn't make something, maybe it's not, the problem isn't that I didn't make something good. No. It's always someone else's fault. And that's where they are with this. And I'm sorry, that's indefensible. Make a good game and people will not only buy it, they'll keep it, regardless of the refund policy. And it's hilarious to see the supposedly consumer-friendly press jumping at the bit to friggin' defend these creators and say, no, this pro-consumer measure that could have saved people from all kinds of garbage products over the years and money misspent is a bad thing because it hurts a tiny subset of indie creators who are a tiny drop in an ocean that is the video game industry. The sheer arrogance and narcissism required to think that the entire industry and the dominant way of distributing video games to consumers need to bend to your will is unbelievable. And I say it's unbelievable, but it really shouldn't be, because if there's one thing I've learned in the last 9 months, it's that there are a lot of people out there who feel that the entire world needs to revolve around them, and that anyone who doesn't agree with that is evil. And fuck that. I'm sorry. I do not subscribe to that at all. You know, some of the same people who are bitching about this are the people who said a while ago that Steam needs quality control, that Steam needs to severely limit and curate the games that go on the service because due to Steam opening the floodgates, there has been a massive tide of garbage that's come out there. Ancient games that barely work, shovelware, indie stuff that's built off of like Unity store assets and all this other crap that's coming out and basically trying to scam people and getting on Steam. And I agree that's a problem. I've talked about that before. But at the same time, these same people who are bitching that Steam needs quality control are the same people who are now bitching that this type of service exists. I said in another blog post that Steam didn't need quality control, it needed quality service. So what I said is that if Steam wants to let anyone on the service, that's fine. Let them pile in. Let the garbage games in there. But you need, as a matter of fact, I called for a refund policy. I said Steam needs to make it very easy to get your money back if the game you bought is either hot garbage or doesn't work. And guess what? They've done exactly that. I personally believe that though I think Valve's Steam platform has become a bit of a libertarian dystopia, which I've also talked about before, I do think that letting more content on there is good. Give the consumers the choice, let them choose what they want. You know, one man's trash is another man's gold. But at the same time, give people an easy way out if one of the things that they bought is garbage. And Valve has done exactly that. Now they don't necessarily need quality control because consumers can exercise their own quality control. You can go out and buy something, and if it turns out to be a piece of crap, you get your money back. No harm, no foul. You move on, you find something better. That's perfect. And now we have the same people who said it needs quality control bitching about that. Well, you can't have both. If this is a form of quality control, and it's the best kind, because it's the kind that lets that gives the consumers the control. It's not Valve saying we're not going to let these following games on our service because we don't think they're good. It's giving the power to consumers. It's saying here's all the games that have applied here. You figure out what's good. If you like something that a lot of other people think is crap, whatever, it's there. You can play it, have fun. If it turns out you thought it's crap too, well, you can get your money back and move on. And there is an anti-abuse policy in place as well. So if people are buying a whole bunch of games that are sub 2 hours, finishing them and requesting their money back, if you do that too often, guess what? You're not gonna be allowed to do it anymore. So there already is something in place that will help control this stuff. Again, Steam refunds, as they are implemented right now, are nothing but a good thing. They instill consumer confidence, which is the thing the industry needs right now, especially after the last year with so many broken, disastrous products coming out in both the indie space and the AAA space. Consumer confidence is the one thing the industry needs right now, and Valve has given that to people. They've given people the ability to choose what they want and to see what works for them. And if they hear a product is bad, they don't necessarily have to take everything at face value. They can go out, they can try something and decide if they like it. If you were one of the few people who at launch had Assassin's Creed Unity run well for you, great, you could buy it, find that out, and keep it. And if you wanted to try it and you bought it and found out it ran like garbage, you could just be like, well, okay, people were right, give me my money back, and on you go. There's nothing bad about that. And I'm sorry, if you're one of these tiny little pretentious, perpetually outraged indie devs who are now mad because you're making products that people by and large don't like, I think that's more of a problem on your side. And the unbelievable arrogance to think that it's Valve's job to bend how the entire system works because of a few people like yourself who clearly believe in the art you're making, and that's fine, but have so little faith in your audience that to think that everyone who buys it is just going to return it, well, that either shows a lack of confidence on your part or a lack of faith in your audience, and neither of those are the consumer's problem. Those are purely your problems. Maybe you need to do a little bit of self-reflection and figure out the type of stuff you're making and whether or not it's something people actually want to pay for. Because if it is, people will do so and people will keep it. It's been proven time and time again. Personally, I couldn't applaud Valve more for this. After years of horrible customer service and some epic level gaffes like the paid mod fiasco, I think this is exactly the kind of thing Valve needed to restore their confidence. And I think because of their near monopoly position, I think we're going to see other digital distributors follow suit. I think we're going to see more platforms doing this. My utopian vision is that within the next little while we'll see the console makers do this too, and if that's the case, that is good for everybody because it takes the burden off of consumers for crappy games. And if a game is bad or a game is broken, it now shifts the burden back to the people who made it. If you make a crappy product, you bear the financial burden of that, not the customers. There is nothing bad about that. Consumers are always supposed to come first. Customers are always supposed to come first because without customers, there's no one to pay for the games and there's no one to pay for Steam. These things don't exist without the customers. And when you start treating the customers as anything less than the primary concern, you've already fucked up and you've already lost. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to lose any sleep over a couple of people who think 30-second experiences are worth, you know, a decent chunk of money complaining that something that's pro-consumer is bad because, again, it's always someone else's fault and they don't have to... It's not the fact that maybe their art isn't good enough. No, it's the rest of the world's fault for not understanding it. Get the fuck over yourselves. Serve your consumers well and they'll reward you for it. Don't, and see what happens. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to bitch about that because, god damn it, I am so sick of everything that comes out, being good or bad, being ripped apart by people and their massive egos, which just seem to be getting worse and worse and worse. I friggin' had it. And yeah, thank you, Valve, for doing this. It's about time you did something like this, and I'll take it better late than never, absolutely. And I hope I don't have to use the feature very much, frankly, but it's very nice knowing it's there. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Let's yeah, chat about this. What do you think about Steam refunds and some of this controversy over it? I'm interested to hear. So drop a comment either on the blog post or on the video. And yeah, there's going to be more content coming pretty soon. So thank you guys very much for watching. And well, I'll see you guys next time. Take her easy.